Good morning. This is lesson number 2. Today is September the 10th, the year of 2023. Topic of today's lesson is Rahab and the Spies. Lesson text, we in Joshua the 2nd chapter, the 3rd through the 9th verse, and we'll skip down to read the 15th and 16th verse, then skip again, go down to the 22nd to 24th verse. The place, Jericho. The mountains of Canaan, Shittim, or Shittim, or Shittim, however you want to pronounce it. Like I said before, I don't know all these words, so however you feel more comfortable in pronouncing these words. So, the time is 1405 BC. The golden text, it reads, "Truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land. For even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us." That's Joshua the 2nd chapter, the 24th verse. Today's aim is to show how Rahab was used by God to protect the spies Joshua sent to spy out the land. The principle. What's up? Okay. The principle. To show that God has all kinds of resources to protect his people. The application is to teach that when we know that God is with us to protect us at all times, we have nothing to fear. Rahab and the Spies. Now, surely, y'all do get what I've been talking about in the past. Make sure you read your lessons because this Bible is just jumping back and forth. Amen. We just left from chapter 11, and now we're back to chapter 2. After first reading chapter 1, then going to chapter 11, now back to chapter 2. The significance of jumping like that, I couldn't tell you. But make sure you read your lessons because everything that you read about, it has a unique adventure when it comes towards it. Now, especially this lesson here. I mean, you are going to travel quite a bit when reading through this lesson. It's going to take you to some places that you had no idea we would have been to. So Rahab is a very, very important lady when it comes to who we are. Rahab is very important. Don't judge her based on who she is. Because who she is not who she became. The person that you was last week is not the same person you are this week. So that's all I'm saying is don't judge people based on what your eyes is focused on today. Because God don't look at people's abilities and what they're doing. God looks at people through the inside, through their hearts. Amen. God sees people for who they truly are and not for what they're doing. Now, he do despise what you're doing. Yeah. But he knows who you are. So that's what we need to start doing. We need to start focusing more on who people could be and not who people are. Okay? So we're going and get into this thing. Focus point into this lesson now. The focus point is this first verse. Okay? This focus is this first verse. And it says, "And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country." The king of Jericho sent people to find these spies. Sent people to find these spies, okay? Understand that part. The king sent people to find the spies that just came in to this area. What kind of spies get caught when they first enter a place? See, that part kind of had me puzzled. Now, these are spies. They're supposed to be very slick. Sneak in and sneak out undetected. But soon as they entered, the king sent people to find them. They didn't hide at all. They was already noticed when they entered. So being that these spies were noticed soon as they entered, how was they noticed? Who saw them? Who told? Just reading this lesson, you will never figure out how they found out the spies was in this area. And when it comes straight to it, they went straight to Rahab's house.
You know what? No matter how sneaky you try to be, there's always somebody watching.
Always somebody watching. Always. And see, as you read down through this lesson, you hear Rahab saying, as she mentions that everyone is afraid because they already know that God has given you this area. So everybody was on the watch.
Yeah.
It could have been anybody that saw him come through. As soon as they saw two faces that didn't match their regular faces, they reported it. They said, I seen somebody that didn't match.
Yeah.
Because they was already looking for somebody to come and take over. So, like I said before, y'all got to really get into this thing if you want to kind of understand what's going on, because these two spies were supposed to be spies, but they were recognized as soon as they entered. And the first place that they went was to Rahab's house. Why do you think they went to Rahab's house first?
Because she was the most likely person that they being the kind of woman that she was. That's what they probably figured. That's when they would go ahead with what they were looking for.
There you go. That's exactly what I was looking for. That is exactly what. See, the response that Mother Davis just gave was exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
They picked her job title and they said, well, because of who she is, they're most likely to go there. Everybody's life has a purpose. And that's all I'm trying to say. Everybody's life has a purpose. Now, Rahab's life, to us, we don't want to be involved in it. We want to stay away from that because of who she was. She was a harlot. Y'all don't know what a harlot is. It was a prostitute. So her job was sleeping with men. That was her job.
Yeah.
And she did that as a living. Now, she was not a Christian woman at the time. Okay, y'all get that part now. At the time. She was not a Christian woman at the time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, she was a pagan. She was a Canaanite. She did not believe in any of these things, but until this point, she believed everything about God. It was her faith in God, her belief in God, the knowledge and the power that she knew that God had that turned everything around right here. And I'm telling you, without Rahab, we would not be. Rahab is very important. Okay, so it says here, and the woman took the two men and hid them, and said, thus there came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. So she's telling them, she says, you know what, yeah, they did come. They came here, but they left. I don't know where they went. Now, I know what we've been taught. I know exactly what we've been taught. But see, I don't know how can I really explain this and still be in good graces, because, they say a lie should never be told.
That's right.
But, I believe that sometimes there is a good lie to tell. Sometimes there is a good lie to tell. See, now, when it came to Rahab, she wasn't lying to the people. She was telling the people what they needed to hear so that God's plans can still go forth. See, because she believed in God's word. She believed everything she knew how powerful God really was. So when it came to her dealing with God, she understood that whatever God sets forth, it's going to happen. That's why this whole area was so afraid when these two spies came in. Because they already knew that this land was already given to Joshua. It was just a matter of time. They didn't know how it was going to come about. They didn't know when it was going to come about. But they knew Joshua was coming. Now, the reason Joshua sent these two spies, now this is the part that kind of got me. Why Joshua sent the spies, I can't answer that question. But see, the thing about it was Joshua sent the spies because he wanted to know what the best approach to taking them was. But see, Joshua didn't even have to know that, because God had already told him all he had to do was go and he would deliver the town to him anyway. So for Joshua to send these 2 spies just to figure out what would be his best approach, that's the part that kind of threw me a bit, because God had already given it to him. All he had to do was go. Now, it says, and it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out whither the men went, I wot not, pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. I know I'm speaking a lot of gibberish that a lot of people don't understand. Well, what they were really saying was, the men went out and she told the guys that came in to find the 2 spies, told them, says, the men left before y'all shut the gates. Says, so wherever they went, I don't know, they could be long gone by now. So she's going to tell them, y'all need to go ahead and go if you want to catch them, because they've already gone. They've been gone a long time ago, way before y'all shut the gates down. So how this area was, I know many of us would not like it if Marion County was like that. So how it happened is, at a certain time, they opened up all the gates and people was free to come and go as they wanted. At a certain time, these gates closed. And after them gates closed, there is no coming in and there ain't no going out.
Amen.
About like how it is in my house, after a certain time, I don't want nobody coming up in my house after a certain time, unless you got a good valid reason for coming in that house. After a certain time, you stay where you at if you're already out. Now, if you got a good reason for being out now, give me a call, let me know what's going on. But in this area, they didn't care what the reason was. After a certain time, they closed them gates. And you are not allowed in these gates. So she sent these men out, knowing they was on a wild goose chase, knowing they was. Yeah. She knew that they wasn't gonna find these men because the men was still there. And if you know how Rahab's house was built, Jericho, you're gonna find that out in chapter 6. Well, how things went in Jericho, how this war went about, they marched around Jericho. Jericho was built up as a big wall. Right. And all the houses was built inside that wall. So Rahab's house was right on the wall. And her window was built into that wall. So from her house, you can actually climb out and get on the other side of that wall from her house. So what she actually ended up, well, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I ain't going to tell you too much of it. It says here, but she had brought them up to the roof of her house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. So by her telling these people that the spies had already left, she told a little lie. She did. She told a little lie. But she told a lie for God, she did God a little small favor. She said, you know what, I'm doing this for God, so please God don't get me for doing this, So the thing was, I know you're not supposed to lie. You're not.
Well, just to help out a little bit, it goes back to what you said before, in terms of her status. She was still learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was still learning. She didn't know the true living God. But
there you go.
A good reason to tell a lie.
You're right.
But she was learning, But as you grow in God, you'll learn what to do and what not to do.
That's it.
Just, as you said, she was in the early stage and recognizing God. But as she integrated with Israel, then she started learning the rules and what God said she should and should not do.
Yeah.
I don't want to get the young ones to get the wrong impression. Hey, well,
you're right. Yeah. So.
Because the Bible never said that God approved of her life, but He did approve of her faith.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So as you said before, she still was learning. It's like when we first became a Christian, there's still some things we still did. Yeah. That we shouldn't have did that on that we know now.
That's right.
We shouldn't have did it, but back then we did.
That's right. So like I said now, the truth isn't to be told at all times. and how I've been raised a lie at no time. So right here you can clearly see that Rahab told a little lie. And like I've been stressing to you, I've been stressing the whole time I've been reading, I've been stressing who Rahab used to be. Not who she is, not who she became, but who she used to be. Because Rahab was a pagan. Understand that part. Rahab was a pagan. She did not believe in none of the Christian beliefs. She didn't believe in none of this stuff. But she's starting to come around. She's starting to understand that all these things that they've been speaking of about God is the truth. Everything that God has already said that he was going to do, it has come to pass. So she understands the power of God. So she's starting, like the minister here said, she's starting to come around. And you're right, God never approved this lie. He never did. God don't approve no lie. Matter of fact, we used to get punished just for saying that word, So I'll be hesitant in Sunday school. So it says, and the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gates. So to make sure, if they was already gone, they wasn't going to be able to come back in. Mm-hmm. And if they wasn't gone yet, they wasn't going to be able to leave. Right. But see, the problem with that is they didn't know where they was. They was already in the location where they was, but they didn't know they was there because of the fact of who Rahab was. Like I say, everybody's life has a purpose. See, Rahab, her purpose for being this harlot was just for this day. Nothing more. It was just for this day. Now, I know I ain't even going to do it. Yeah, I ain't going to do it. I'm going to go ahead on. It said, and before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof, and she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. So, right, that goes all the way back to what I said the focus point was, that first verse. Everybody already knew that God had already given this land over to them. So everybody was afraid of Joshua and his people. Everybody was afraid of them because they already knew that God had already given it. Now, why? Why does God come and just take land from people? Why did God just come and just say, you know what? You don't need this no more. I'm going to take it from you and I'm going to give it to somebody else. Why would God just come into this area and say, you know what? Just kill all these people that's in there. Get rid of them. And y'all take over. That just don't seem like something that God would do, right? But
well, if that whole area was sin.
This whole area, see, that when God do things like this, 9 times out of 10 is not the first time they heard about it. It ain't even the second time that God done said stop. See, when God get to this point, God done told you over and over and over again. So it's at the point now that God says, you know what, I'm done talking. Because this area here was, they was full of fornication. Yeah. They was full of adultery. I mean, heterosexual, bisexual, they was all out there. I mean, they was doing all kinds of craziness out there. So God says, you know what, enough is enough. This area, I'm taking it from you because I told you to stop. And you didn't stop yet. But see, God placed Rahab in this area at this particular time for this particular reason. After this, y'all will notice that Rahab is not recognized as the prostitute any longer. Because this was the only reason Rahab had that title. And so people wouldn't question her too much when these spies went in there. So the only thing that Rahab had to say was, yeah, they was here, but they gone now. And they believed her. Because what reason does she have to lie? Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. She let them down by a cord. Now, this cord was called the scarlet, okay?
Yeah.
What color is scarlet?
Red.
Red, okay. Y'all understand that? This scarlet cord was red. I'm trying to tell y'all something here, you know, because this whole Bible, God wasn't doing anything but repeating himself over and over and over because we just wasn't getting it. Passover. What happened on Passover? They put blood over the doorpost. This scarlet cord represented that blood. And over them doorposts, they put that blood over the doorpost for what? To pass by so that they can see that there's someone is up in here that we do not want to bother. So they placed that there so they can be noticed. Needed to be seen. If it wasn't there, they couldn't see you. So if they couldn't see you, they was going to tear straight through you. So you place that there so that they can be seen. So it's not in this lesson here. It's not. I'm just one that just like to keep reading. So it's not in this one. It's in chapter 6. You know, after you keep on reading through this thing here, you know, you'll start finding that they says, well, you know, because she don't want to die. You know, she's going to tell them later. She's going to say, you know what, I'm doing this thing here now. So what I want is, I want you, and she didn't even mention herself when she asked for this. She didn't mention herself. She said, I want you to protect my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, and all the people that's surrounded by me. I want you to protect them because I know that you're coming to destroy this area. She didn't even mention herself. See, that's what you call a true Christian. Christians, they don't focus on themselves too much. They focus on everything else around them. All the people that's attached to them. That's who a true Christian represents. They here to protect everybody else. And it seems like a Christian puts themselves last. Well, see, and the only thing that they said to her was, all I want you to do is this scarlet rope that you let us out with, just leave it hanging out your window. That way we'll know that that's you. And we'll touch everything else but you. Right. Make sure that your family is up in here too. That's right. And we will not bother that, providing you keep your word and you don't turn your back on us. That's right. And if you don't turn your back on us, we will hold up to our oath. That's right. We'll keep that. So, it's just a little story I just want to go over because I know a lot of people that just read just this lesson now. And I'm telling you, the best part of this is outside of this lesson. It's not in this lesson. So it says here, and she said unto them, get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days, until the pursuers be returned, and afterwards may ye go your way. She told them exactly what to do. She says, after they leave, I'm going to let you out. And then you go and sit your rump right there on the mountaintop. You stay there. You do not move. You stay there. Okay? You stay there for 3 days. And by that time, they be back. Then you can leave. But if you try to leave now, you ain't going to do nothing but run right into them. So I need you to stay there until they return. When they return, you're free to go. So they did that for 3 days. They sat there for 3 days and didn't move. It says, and they went and came unto the mountain and abode there 3 days until the pursuers were returned. And the pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not. Of course you didn't find them. Because you was looking someplace where they hadn't even went yet. You had to left looking for somebody that never moved. I'm telling you, your life has a purpose now. Just keep that in mind. Your life have a purpose. So, I mean, don't look at me and say, I'm living better than you. Why you can't live like me? No, our lives are not that much different,
Right.
No, I'm not living better than you. No, you're not living better than me. We're just living differently. That's all. The way you're living is not the way I'm living. But we are on the same path. God gave us all different lives, different ways of living, different styles. Just to know that your life has a purpose. I mean, ma'am, that's it. Yeah. Look, you're not complete until you've done your purpose. You have, let's take this table here, for instance, okay? This is just a table. And this table, what we're using it for, its purpose is for devotion, taking up Sunday school. But let me tell you something else. You can use this table to eat on. And if you're light enough, you can sit on it. You can lay across it. You can prep things on it. You can do activities on it. See, those are all the things that you can do with this table. But that wasn't the purpose. Until you've done this purpose for this table's work hadn't been done yet. So whatever your life is, until your purpose is done, you haven't done anything yet. Rahab's purpose isn't done yet. She right now is just a harlot. But that's not her purpose. I was about to tell you, but give me a second. All right. So the two men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over and came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and told him all things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, truly the Lord hath delivered unto our hands all the land. For even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us. They said, you know what? We went over there. We did exactly what you told us to do. And we ran into these people. And this first lady we went into, I'm going to tell you what she said. She says everybody over there was scared of us. Says she already know that we coming to take them. So they all afraid. And see, he even told them that she just said, when we come, she said, when we come, not if. And she says, when we take over the land, not if we take over the land. So when we come, to just spare them. That's all she said. When we come to spare them. So they told them to leave this stuff. Now, look, let me tell you, because it's been burning me. It's been burning. I've been wanting to tell you the whole time. All right. Look here. Had not been for Rahab, let me tell you, we'd have never known Brother Boaz. You know that. We'd have never known him. If it had never been for Rahab, look, Ruth wouldn't have had any place to go. I'm telling you, because, look, if it had not have been for Rahab, Obed wouldn't have never had Jesse. If it wasn't for Rahab, Jesse wouldn't have never had David. And the lineage that come from the line of David, where would Jesus have come from? These are the things that we got to think about. If it was not for Rahab, what would we be?
That's it.
Where would we be? Where would the lineage come from if Rahab would not have been who she was supposed to be? See, everybody keep thinking about Rahab being a prostitute and she's just a bad person. Well, don't think about who she was. Think about who she became.
Amen.
That's it.
See, Rahab, after all this, yes, I said that she was a pagan. She didn't believe. But see, Rahab, she transformed. She changed. Rahab changed. She became this type. So Rahab started following God. After this day, Rahab understood the power of God and wanted to place herself within his circle.
Amen.
She says, I'm no longer want to be out there because I see and I understand who God is. So being that I know who God is, that's exactly where I want to be. So please, I hope if you come and take my family and help them out, I hope you grab me too, because she didn't want to be there. Rahab hated this life. You look down on a lot of them that's out there in the streets doing this stuff like this, but see, most of the time you don't understand the reason why. All you see is what they're doing. All you know is they're out there prostituting. They're doing this. They're doing that. They selling drugs. They doing all this stuff. But why? See, these are the questions that nobody ever want to ask. Yeah. Nobody ever care about the answer to these questions. Yeah. Why? Why are they doing these things? Why was Rahab doing this? Nobody asked these questions. See, Rahab did this because God had her doing it. God put her in that position for this particular time. A lot of the things that I've done in my life, I'm not proud of. But a lot of the things that I have done in my life, it brought me to who I am today.
That's it.
And that was the reason why I did those things. See, the thing is, my purpose isn't done yet. Those were just things that brought me up to this point. Who I was, remember who you was. Remember where you came from so that you don't go back. That's the thing about it. You don't want to go back to being who you was.
That's right.
Rahab didn't go back to being who she was. Rahab moved on. See, we reading about Jericho here, okay? Mm-hmm. And Jericho was the first city that they took. Mm-hmm. The first city they took, okay? And you don't find them actually conquering Jericho until chapter 6. You know, so what went on was they started marching around Jericho. They started going around Jericho, just marching, because why was all they was doing was walking, and they wasn't trying to go through the doors because that's what they were told.
That's it.
Y'all get that part now? That's what they were told. This whole thing is based on being obedient
That's what it said.
and being disciplined.
That's right.
Without obedience and without discipline, you will fail. I don't care what it is you're trying to do in your life. If you don't have discipline and obedience, you're going to fail.
That's right.
So these people were told, I don't want you to charge through them gates. All I want you to do right now is walk around it. Just march around it.
Keep your mouth closed.
Keep your mouth closed, because that's another very important point. Keep your mouth closed, because as they started marching around, you know, the thing about God is, God says you don't have to do anything. Let me do it for you. All I want you to do is be there. That's it. Just be there. So they started walking around. And on that last day, the trumpet sound. And God says, make a loud noise right now.
That's it.
And when they did that, the walls just fell.
Amen.
Because God says, you ain't got to do nothing. I'll take care of it for you. I just want them to be exposed. So when they're exposed, they don't have nothing to do. They ain't got nothing to run behind, nothing to hide behind. They ain't got nowhere to go. They can't prepare for nothing because everything crumbled. See, y'all gotta pay attention to this thing now. See, look here. Rahab was the mother of Boaz. Okay? She was the mother of Boaz. And Boaz was the one that took in Ruth.
Yeah.
Tell me ain't no two powerful people there now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So if you didn't have these people in our lives, our lives would be in trouble.
God lets us know how you can transform us.
Exactly. Look,
That's all it is.
just because you're living a life that you don't think is right for you right now, hold on. Don't give up. See, when you give up, that's when things is done. Rahab didn't give up. See, Rahab already knew that this town was done and everybody in it was done, but she didn't quit. Rahab kept pushing. Just when you feel like you are at the end, keep pushing. That's all you got to do is keep pushing. When you keep pushing, God can keep carrying you, because most of the time you're tired. And all you want to do is just sit down and rest. But God says, no, you ain't doing this. I'm doing it for you. So he's going to pull you.
That's it.
Because it's not you. When you understand that the things that you are doing is not you, you can go a long way. See, but the reason we feel like we need to stop is because we think we're doing it all by ourselves.
That's it.
God says, I need you to go and build that building up. And you think that you're doing it by yourself. Look, True Fellowship is still growing and I haven't raised not one hand. All I did was made a few phone calls and things getting done. I can't do it. I don't know nothing about none of this stuff around here. But I can pick up a phone. God will point me in the right direction.
That's it.
So your life is not done. All you got to do is keep on pushing. Turn this over into the hands of the superintendent.
Oh,